Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tayte for not a review, not a special discussion. It is another entry in the Untitled Monthly Movie Show, the show where we go through everything we watched from the preceding month, normally done at the end of each month, and it is July the 3rd. It's been very busy. There's been a lot of things happening on the channel, so we are a couple of days late, but we are going to talk about June 2023. It's been a very strange month. A lot of big releases at the cinema. We'll probably end up talking box office numbers for these releases. We did it a lot in our discussion yesterday for Indiana Jones, which you can check out. We've got a spoiler discussion up on the channel now, but this is going to be a pretty fun discussion. But first of all, Tate, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing okay. I think this month I've watched the most new releases out of everything this year. But I feel like I know it's a TV show, but they're basically mini movies at this point. I've added in the Black Mirror kind of episodes, the new ones, as part of this month. So I'll go through and discuss those when we get through to it. But a lot of the things I've seen this month have been new releases. There are a few kind of, the standard, why on earth are you watching those picks? But, I'll talk through all of them when we get to it.
Yeah, and this is going to be just mine. So this is the first month where the rewatches have outweighed the new releases. When I say new releases, sorry, I mean like first watch of films. So I've still seen a fair amount, but we've been doing a big series, which is clearly one big giveaway as to what I've been watching. But as always, we do want to hear from everybody at home, so please do comment along with us. Let us know what films you watched, what shows you watched, maybe even stuff you recommend for us to take a look at. It's a very chilled out stream. We're going to go through it watching. Anyone that wants to talk about any topics, do bring them up. It's fine. Obviously, it's about film and TV mainly, please. Be a lot of help. And if you want to get us on social medias, you can do so. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook, Letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. Link to Redbubble in the description below. There is also a link tree on our Twitter, which I guess we'll need to put in the description in the next couple of weeks. So we'll probably alter how we say that. But Tate, how do you want to do this? Because normally we have a guest, but as I said, this month's been a little bit different, and I'm doing the tweaks. I actually haven't tweeted to say that we're live. But do you want to do yours first? Yeah, and I am listening. Yeah. I'm just not being unsociable.
Let's just tick off the bat straight away. We watched Mission Impossible 2 through to Mission Impossible Fallout this month, like 2 through to 6. Pretty much every single Mission Impossible film apart from the first one. And you can kind of go and watch, our various different reviews of those films. We've got all of them up on the channel. I'm pretty sure there's a playlist going. So please go and watch through all those reviews to kind of hear our opinions on all of them. But that kind of set the tone for, a film that's going to be coming out soon. A film that we think is probably going to have a better box office than most of the films that came out this month. There's one film which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which had a better box office than most. But yeah, that was just kind of, a heavy amount of action films thrown in there from this month. Just purely out of the fact that I was watching a lot of Mission Impossible films. And yeah, I can't really talk too much about them because we've already talked a lot about them over the last month.
I mean, we'll do it on the Dead Reckoning on the big discussion for the spoilers, but what's it been like? I mean, I know we've got Fallout coming out tomorrow, so Spy Hard, Scott and Cam have joined us. They've been on a few other videos. They're absolutely great. And we got a really good discussion with them. It's actually the first time they've ever discussed Mission Impossible, which was a lovely little bonus. And I can say that we are going to be getting a spoiler-free review out on Wednesday now. That is now confirmed. So 5 p.m. Wednesday is the review embargo. Scott from Spy Hard is also going to be at the screening. So very strangely enough, we don't really plug our own stuff on this, and I guess we should. But tomorrow there's our Mission Impossible Fallout review going up on Spy Hards. I recorded an episode with Spy Hards a while back for a film called The Mechanic starring Jason Statham. That is going up tomorrow. Purely coincidental, recorded months ago. And then we're at the screening together. So that's a very weird collaboration day. July the 4th, we're not American, but those that celebrate do so. So that is that. But yeah, the Mission Impossibles, just very quickly, the series, as I said, we're up to Fallout. We've got 2 more. The spoiler-free review is going to come out on Wednesday, as we said, so keep your eyes peeled, 5 o'clock. And then when we've got a date for the spoiler one, we'll do that properly. We want to do that one properly. We want to give people time to watch it. So we'll have a date later, which is why it's always good to get us on social media. But perfect. What is your hype level like for Dead Reckoning? Just very quickly.
Oh, it's off the scale. It's to the point where every single film that I'm going to go watch in the cinema, I'm just like, play the Dead Reckoning trailer. Of all the trailers I want to see, it's play the Dead Reckoning trailer. Just because it just looks like a phenomenal film. It looks like everything from the previous films cranked up to 11. And I know it's going to be a two-parter, so I'm just really intrigued as to how they go about it, and I'm really down for it. I'm really, really hyped for it.
I'm excited. I'm seeing it tomorrow. Contrary to what Indiana Jones people think on reviews, we don't get paid to do reviews. I fucking wish. And I'll say this, for anyone, because it does interest me. Before we did press screenings, I was always intrigued by not critics as such, but how does it work? How do people get into screenings? And our Netflix stuff was very lucky that we got into Netflix first, and then through covering stuff for Netflix, we then got good rapport with PRs to then do stuff when cinema started opening up. And I think that was the case for a lot of other people. A lot of people I've got to meet over the last couple of years at these screenings, a lot of them is all down to COVID. And obviously so many screens being available online because cinemas weren't open. And it's really fascinated me, the myth that people are paid by studios to say they like stuff. I am very sure that there are, and this is really off point, and I don't mean to segue, so you're going to go for what you watch, but sometimes studios will fly out people to premieres, to do interviews, to do junkets, right? That's not unheard of. That's normal. It's not even normal practice. That's your Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning world premiere in Rome, where they flew out American press to be at the world premiere because it's the world premiere. That is not your bog standard. They're going to watch it at the nearest press screening. In England, that is only London, basically. And it's even more amazing is that people have to do it at their own expense. There's no, like, the studio's not going to give you money to get trains. Not in this day and age of trains. And there's none of that exists. And it's the most insane takes I see online about things like that. And I just love bringing it up because it's so hilarious. Because when I was younger, I never thought it, but I was always intrigued. But even people I know, which is the most insane take, and you know exactly what I mean. I've seen someone saying that people get paid to do reviews, and this person knows full well they don't get paid to do reviews because they wouldn't go to press screenings when invited. That's all I'm leaving that there and then. But that's when when people get the algorithms wrong and recommendations come up. That's the shit to be aware of. But as far as it goes, sorry, just to jump in the parade there.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Lots of hype, but less of that. Anyone watching that's curious, because we can tell you how fucking hard it is to get responses, let alone into screenings. That's the real key there. But yeah, PR stuff aside, Tayte, what else is new?
So I'll go around the houses and I'll go through a few various kind of miscellaneous films that I watched this month first, and then I'll come back to kind of the bigger talking points I want to go for. So I watched Paddington 1 and Paddington 2 because I needed to clear through a drawer in my room one day, and I was like, I need the easiest, just kind of like throw on in the background film possible, and nothing is more wholesome than Paddington. So shoving both of those on was a great one. I watched Primer for the first time. That messed with my head quite heavily.
I've not seen it. I've heard of it.
It's a short film. It's not too long. It's about an hour 10, and it's a time travel based film. There are people have written full on essays about how the time travel works in the film and what timeline they're on and stuff like that. It's really good. I feel like I need to watch it again to fully understand it because I just did not keep up, and I had to go. It's one of the first films where I've watched the film, then I need to go online and actually figure out what went on afterwards. So that was an interesting one. I've watched Fantastic Mr. Fox this month with the kind of the idea of
you've seen it before, right?
Oh yeah, I've love the film. Out of just the whole kind of, I will watch Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then I'm going to go and watch the new Wes Anderson film, which I haven't been able to do yet because Cineworld decided to release it 1 week later, which was frustrating. I rewatched Up in the Air. So those are my rewatches out the way. Just out of kind of, I wanted to watch a kind of easy comedy. Oh, and Captain Marvel purely out of the fact that I wanted to get ahead of the game for Secret Invasion.
Are you watching Secret Invasion?
I am watching Secret Invasion.
I have heard horrendous things about it, and I know that only the first 2 episodes were shown to press.
It's
so
very good so far. I don't know why it's getting bad reviews.
Very, very curious, and I know that apparently all the marketing is in the first 2 episodes as well. And our lovely friend, Artificial Intelligence, I don't know if you've seen it's all kicked off about the title sequence.
I have, but at the same time, the same people are complaining that they're not paying their artists. It's such a pit and a void. I'll be perfectly honest, and I don't agree with AI taking over jobs that people can do because that's just wrong. I really like the opening title sequence, and do you know what? It is artistic. It's AI art. I know that. Everyone knows that at this point. But I quite like it. Everyone's turning around saying, "Oh, it's ugly" and stuff like that. But no, it gives off the correct vibe for what you're going to go in and watch. It's surprisingly creative for AI art. It's actually pretty well put together, and it sets the tone for the series. I don't want it to be the kind of theme going forwards, but they actually did a decent job with it. So, I can't really complain too much. And it's a fine line between, oh, pay your artist, blah, 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 and then suddenly having a go at them for, not hiring artists in the first place.
Well, they're getting sued now, so I've not seen it.
Yeah.
I've only seen stills of the first episode's title sequence, and I think what I read is the company they've credited, the AI machine they've used, whatever that is being sued by Getty Images. So, and Getty Images is the one probably photography film people wouldn't want chasing them.
No.
But I've not seen it. But the AI art, the AI art stuff's not interesting, but social media, have you noticed how many people now use AI photos of themselves? And it became a big thing a couple of months ago, and people still do. So I'm always intrigued when I see people going in for... I personally, I don't like the AI stuff, but I'm not going to say that and then have an AI profile photo, which I know a lot of other people have had. So it is one of them. And artificial intelligence, there is some benefit to it, but the way companies are moving forward with it is well, the guy that created it has already come out. It's very telling, isn't it? Already disbanded it. But that's enough about that. Sorry. But your new watches though.
My new watches. Let's start off with the kind of the glazing over of my eyes that was just kind of not even sitting through, just having the film shout at me. That is Extraction 2. Film is piss poor. It's a terrible film. Do you know what? I've seen
two
people...
things.
Yeah,
there are two things that have interest to me. One, the 20-minute one take. Okay,
20-minute one take looks cool.
But the best thing I've seen, the only reason I actually want to watch the film, and I almost did today because I had a couple of spoilers, but I won't bring myself to watch it properly. I'll wait till the end of the year for the numbers. There's a shootout, and he takes cover behind a ladder.
Yeah, that happens.
And you know what? Stuff like that is terrible by logic, but it's also quite incredible. Because that'll always be the film now where Chris Hemsworth took cover behind a ladder in a gunfight.
There are a few sequences. The jailbreak sequence is very good. The 20-minute take is very cool. It's very well filmed, but the film itself is just dull as bricks. It's
another new action film where it's a stunt choreographer or ex-stunt person moving in this direction, which is very interesting. That action's slowly moving that way. Obviously, Chaz Telesky is the most obvious example from that.
It was just so boring, and I didn't care for any of the characters, and they fake out so many different deaths in the film, and it's just so... If you've seen the first Extraction film, you've seen this film. This one is set in Eastern Europe instead of India. That's the only change. It's so dull. It's just mindless violence. I guess Chris Hemsworth has a few cool kills. He kills one person with a freaking rowing machine and dumbbells in a gym at one point. There were so many things that happened in this film that just kind of my eyes glazed over. I was staring at the screen and, nothing happened as far as I was aware. I think there was one point where I was like, oh, what? They're on the train now? I don't even remember them going near a train to start off with. Were they even in a train yard? It just kind of all blends together at one point because it is that dull. I would not recommend it at all. I think I gave it 2.5 stars, and that's all from, the action sequences and a bit of the direction, but the film itself is just dull. So dull.
That's fair.
I watched that Peter Crouch film this month as well.
There's a film for Peter Crouch?
Peter Crouch has done a film.
An actual film?
An actual
not
film.
Not like a crap BT Sport 10-minute documentary.
It's a full documentary film that follows, his career all the way through to making the podcast.
Why wasn't this marketed? I'd have watched that.
It was out this month. It's okay, actually. It's not too bad.
It probably would be. Is it just Peter Crouch being Peter Crouch?
It's literally Peter Crouch being Peter Crouch. George is writing this down furiously on his list. Like, I must watch this. Holy shit.
I just didn't know that existed. Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be why. Oh, God, why don't they market this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch that. What do you mean, I'm sold.
Yep.
Non-football fans like, what on earth is that?
Yeah. He's one of the most kind of the streets will never forget kind of, football players of all time.
What was it like? He's 7 foot and did the robot celebration for the world to watch and made it his own. And at a certain age, and he's become probably one of the most successful
podcasters,
not pundits, but yeah, like in terms of players moving
figures,
into media,
public figure in football. Yeah,
I'd say if you look at the players who, not in a horrible way, I don't look at them as pundits. That sounds really horrible. But the players that have done the best, like post football media career wise, you've probably got Peter Crouch, Mikhail Richards, although he is a good pundit, but he's personality wise.
Yeah,
and Ben Foster is a really obvious one.
Yeah,
Warwick's finest. Who shoots his videos 10 minutes away from where I live and 5 minutes from where I grew up, which is still very weird to see that in videos. But sorry, continue. I'm completely flabbergasted as a Peter Crouch.
That's okay.
Country.
Yeah, no, there is a Peter Crouch. It's called That Peter Crouch Film.
Makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. So the films that we've reviewed on the channel. So let's go with Indiana Jones, which we reviewed yesterday, actually. For the spoiler discussion. Enjoyed it. There are some things which I didn't enjoy, but enjoyed it. Go watch the review if you want our full opinions on that. We go over it quite heavily on the spoiler-filled discussion, and also George, you had a good turn with it in the spoiler-free discussion. So we've got 2 different views there if you have seen the film or if you haven't seen the film. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I can't believe this was out last month. Like it
June the 1st.
Hasn't even been a month yet. Loved it. Go watch our review for that as well. Go watch our reviews for that, actually. Multiple. Fantastic film. I still haven't been able to see it second time round. I really want to, though. If I get the time to, I will. If it's even still in cinemas, I feel like there's going to be such a quick turnover of films this year just because there are so many coming out. I want to very quickly dive into the Black Mirror episodes.
Yes. Now, I've never watched a single episode of Black Mirror, but I heard that I believe 6 episodes released. Was it 6 episodes?
5 episodes released.
5 episodes, or is it season 6?
Season 6, 5 episodes released.
Okay. And I know that, oh God, what's her name? Salma Hayek's in 1 episode because that was all over Twitter.
Yep. She is in 1 episode.
Don't know anything else. So go for it.
So, I mean, that'll be the first one to start off with. So at this point, these Black Mirror episodes they're an hour to an hour, 10 minutes long. I think the shortest one this season was 50 minutes long. So they are kind of, feature length episodes and stuff like that, to an extent. And I've enjoyed the series so far. I think it's gotten worse as it's gone along since Netflix has Americanized it, shall we say, and you get more Americanizations of this series. The Salma Hayek episode was actually really with, is it Annie Richards as well? Really good. I enjoyed that one. It was okay. It felt very Black Mirror-y. Basically, I'll do the kind of plot synopsis for it, but this character is living a bit of a boring life, stuck in a rut, and then she goes onto a streaming service in the evening and sees that her life is being played out, including the affair that she's doing. And she finds out that actually she signed over her life to Netflix during their terms and services agreement.
It's very
yeah.
Did you ever watch the South Park episode, the classic The Human Centipede?
Yeah. That was immediately where I was going. But then there's a long train of events of like, Kate Blanchett's involved in that episode. Michael Cera shows up in that episode. There's a lot of weird cameos in that episode. And it's quite interesting. Best episode of the series though was Lock Henry, which is a straight up horror episode. It's got Podrick from Game of Thrones in it, but realistically, it is just a straight up horror episode. Fantastic. Beyond the Sea with Aaron Paul is really good as well. Really enjoyed it. That one's kind of the most sci-fi styled episode. So Beyond the Sea, basically, these astronauts are up on the spaceship, but whenever they want to, they can visit home, and they kind of not teleport, but their mind gets transferred into a robot version of themselves who can live their life back out on Earth with their family. And it's just kind of the struggles between, being up in the ship and being down on Earth and living your life. Maisie Day was the worst episode of the series. That's about paparazzi and wasn't very Black Mirror-y. And then Demon 79 was fantastic as well, set in 1979 Sheffield. Very interesting. It's the first Red Mirror episode, so they're going to be making a spin-off series called Red Mirror, which is more horror-based. So not about how technology can destroy you, but how kind of things throughout life can destroy you and stuff like that. Overall, not the best series, but both Lock Henry, which is all about kind of making a documentary about a horrific event in a kind of town that's been abandoned because of said horrific event, and Beyond the Sea were must-watches for this season. I'd recommend the entire series, actually. I really enjoy Black Mirror, especially the early stuff. Really, really good sci-fi concept. I know they've been talking about possibly turning a couple of them into full feature-length films for years now. But it's some of the best sci-fi TV going, so I would always recommend it.
I'll watch it eventually. I've always heard, because they announced it quite late, didn't they? It wasn't like a big, it's come back in a few months. It was like, they announced it was back.
They mentioned it was filming quite a while ago, and then suddenly it went from production's finished 1 week, and then a week later, kind of the trailer was out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, production finished ages ago. We just kind of put that out as a teaser for it." But the big film of the month that I want to chat about is The Flash.
Yes, because I didn't watch it. I said it really pathetically, like I'm celebrating. I was meant to go to the screening, and I had a lot on this month, and I thought now it comes the point where I start sacrificing screenings, things I'm going to do, and I did not want to go to London. I did not want to get home at 11:30, record, edit, upload a review, and then go to sleep and go back to London the next day at 7 a.m. ready for a big concert. So I didn't watch The Flash. I was like, I'll see The Flash when I get back. And I just have no anticipation or no anticipation.
Are we ready?
I'll be blunt, like, I just didn't want to watch it. I really have never cared for Michael Keaton's Batman, as people know. I really don't care about the DCEU because it's ending. And yeah, I mean, the Ezra Miller stuff's the same thing, right? But I don't know, it's back on the news this week, so it's always tricky talking about it. But what we discussed in the Indiana Jones review yesterday, the Indiana Jones films escaped an Ezra Miller-sized bullet by not having Shia LaBeouf in it. And that was in the mid-2010s they made that call, not after the first batch of incidents, let alone whilst filming, let alone whilst it's in post-production, let alone having them to promote the film.
Yeah. This is a 1-star film.
Did you like the CGI? I hear that it looks bad because that's the intention of a multiverse.
This is a 1-star film. It's just straight up shit. I've
got one thing to say.
I'll go through why.
Black Adam has outgrossed the Shazam 2.
Yeah.
And the Flash. Probably going to outgross Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Don't know about Aquaman. But there in October, we were mocking The Rock for having a flop. But like that, the verge of that being a flop was more like within a couple of 10 millions of it being a flop.
Who knew that Black Adam was the new ceiling? Who knew that was the ceiling?
I mean, I know there's many of reasons that they've declined since Black Adam as well, but that's been a big thing popping up recently. And I was like, I'll give it. You know what? It still shows that The Rock has star power, that people would go. Still, not many did, but they went more than they've gone to everything that's come after. That's DC.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just get out of the way because I find that insane.
The CGI. Let's start off with the CGI. It looks like a video game for most of it. It's awful. I feel like they've somehow made his running look worse. I don't know how, but it doesn't look realistic anymore. It doesn't look even like TV kind of levels of bad. The CW has better CGI than this, and that's saying something. Like it's so bad. The opening sequence has him putting babies in microwaves. So I don't know if that even sets the tone for
I
how bad
saw
the
the
film is,
meme.
but
Well, I saw that they were reversing the clip, so it
yeah,
looks like he takes a baby and puts it in one.
yeah. That would have been funnier and better. It's just really, really poor. It's just poor across the board as far as their CGI is concerned. There is no excuse for it. There is absolutely no excuse for it. You can blame this film for having a terrible butchered plot of, a very famous comic book. You can have critique on the terrible acting performances in this film, but if there's one thing you can do as a studio, it's the CGI. It's getting that right, making it look visually appealing. This film would look more visually appealing on a Nintendo DS screen. Anything that's bigger just makes it worse. It's horrible. I feel like this is the kind of film where the airplane monitors, on the back of the seats would make this film look better. That's how bad it is. It's noticeably bad in almost every single scene. The only saving grace of the film is the scenes with the mum, because the mum in the film has actually got life in the film. They decide to, and I know this is going into a bit of a spoiler-filled review, but I'll be honest, at this point, no one really cares about this film even slightly.
If they wanted to watch The Flash, they'd have seen it by now. I actually
Exactly.
read, and the
Yeah.
spoilers have been around for months because they decided to show it at CinemaCon, and they
dare I
kept
say,
doing the.
Yeah, go on.
I'm saying this. I don't know if anyone knows about this, if anyone's watching, but there was a very weird marketing strategy for the Flash, where they showed it to DC influencers. And they've done this a few times recently. And amongst those are actually real credible people. Neil, who's been on our channel over to Get Your Comic On, that's a great. I recommend that if people want to check out a place for like comics and reviews and stuff. Neil's great. Neil gets to a lot of DC stuff, so I'm always interested in what Neil thinks. But a lot of people that get invited to these events, they're like people. I don't care about following counts because it's about the quality of what people do, not what they are. But when they're only inviting DC focused influencers who they know are going to love everything they go and see there, they only cover DC stuff, and they say the most like insane things trying to get pull quotes to be on the posters. And they were starting that ramping up from having these DC accounts for months. What I found was mental was they did a first press screening in the UK, right? You ready for this? So normally, going back to what I said earlier, you get something called a multimedia screening. So sometimes there's influencers there, as awful as they can be. Obviously, they're going to promote the film, aren't they? You'll get critics there. You might get some, like, when I say VIPs, I'm not talking celebrities. I mean, Mayfire popped up to Sonic once, but, it'll be like friends of the studio or people that work at the studios, etc., etc. So at the multimedia screenings, they're normally a couple of days before each film comes out. And that's what they're billed as. For The Flash, they did a screening 2 weeks before the multimedia. And it was the unfinished cut, which was the finished cut without a credit scene, and without credits themselves. And it was the unfinished cut that kept getting shown everywhere that people were hyping up. They put an asterisk on this that if you went to the unfinished cut, you couldn't then review that version of the film. You had to then go back to the multimedia screening in 2 weeks' time, watch it again to review it. And I thought this, and a few of us, I won't name names, a few of us that are in these group chats, if you talk of stuff like this, everyone said the same thing. It's just a marketing technique. Because if you really hated that film the first time around, you're not going to go back and watch it again to then do a review. And they were almost trying to eradicate the negative perceptions of the film by only running a positive campaign. Now, that is Warner Brothers. I mean, there was that report, Tom Cruise loved The Flash. Like, Tom Cruise is not going to come out and slag off any film, and he's trying to help the industry. And not many actors, directors, etc., would do that months in advance of a film coming out. And the strategy's backfired because the opening weekend numbers came out and no one watched it. They might spend months. People were comparing it to The Dark Knight. I didn't even need to watch it to say that's unacceptable.
How are they? Hold on. How are they?
But this was it. This was it. These are the kind of people that get invited to these first batch screens. This was a legit thing. They were using the best DC film since this, best DC film since this. And there's a lot of people say, you know what? It's okay. I liked it. But why was there so much hype? But ultimately, the audience, the general public, they've not gone out to watch it because they've got no intention to go out to watch it.
It's not that good. It's just not good.
I know.
It's not a good film. They butcher Flashpoint like it's.
But you know why they're doing Flashpoint? Because they need to reset the universe. Because
of course they do.
The universe
they don't even really do a good job of that. So
that's what I've heard too.
The film, they pair Ezra Miller up with a younger, even more annoying version of Ezra Miller. And that's basically what the entire film is. You got normal Ezra Miller doing his normal kind of shitty lines of dialogue, no one can get on board with him, kind of horrific acting. On top of that, you've got Ezra Miller over the top acting like annoying. We're talking like annoying orange levels of annoying kind of character development. You've got a Keaton who just can't be asked to be there, even though he's back on the screen. Puts no effort into the performance at all. Really plays it quite lazily. Supergirl was moody as shit. Like no one actually cares. Just Zod was there. Like it's
Did
just.
you hear about what Michael Shannon said?
What did he say?
The Star Wars thing.
No, I didn't.
So he caused the right scene online. I find this funny.
Yeah.
He was in an interview somewhere for something. It might have been in the Criterion. They did that closet video when people pick up films.
Yeah.
He said that he declined a role on Star Wars. And he said the reason he declined it is because he doesn't like working on large blockbuster films, Basically, he went off to say that Star Wars is terrible. But then that was whilst he was... I don't mind saying Star Wars is terrible. The phrase he uses is the most condescending, hypocritical thing I've ever read. And I've read a lot from actors. But the Michael Shannon... basically saying blockbuster films, there's no character arc or story to tell. And then he's like, meanwhile, comes back as Zod, who died 10 years ago. Apparently, it's all CGI as well. I don't know if they de-age him. I don't know what it is, and he's only in it for 5 minutes. They put him all over the trailers.
He's in it for I'd say about 5 minutes of screen time, if that. The film is bad, just straight up bad, and there's nothing to even defend it with. Dialogue shit, direction's pretty awful. It looks like a video game. The special effects just don't work. It's just a poor, lazy effort thrown together. It's awful, just straight up awful. I've ranked it lower than Fury of the Gods, which I found boring, but this is aggressively bad.
It's longer, right? 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's aggressively bad. It was long as well. I don't check my watch, but I checked my watch twice during this film. I was like, God, when is it over? And I didn't stay for the end credit scene. I was like, no, I'm dipping.
Do you know what the credit scene is?
Yeah, it's like Aquaman getting drunk with.
No,
Flash.
It's George Clooney.
Oh no, he's in the film. He's in the film.
Oh, is that not a credit scene?
That's not a credit scene. No, that's the end of the film.
Oh, that's a shame. That was a credit scene.
No, that's not. That's the final scene of the film.
Oh, that's not too bad. At least you got to see that bit then.
Yeah, the end credit scene is the Flash taking Aquaman home drunk, and there's no context for it.
And that's what they didn't want to show to people in the press screenings, by the way, which was really strange.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Any other new releases, or is Flash the final one?
No, that is the final release that I've seen this month. I'll be honest, from all the stuff that I've seen this month, of course, Across the Spider-Verse has got to be up there. It's the best film of the year I've seen so far. Aside from that, I would really recommend, Indiana Jones, I'd recommend the Peter Crouch film, and I'd recommend both Lock, Henry and Beyond the Sea if you're going to watch Black Mirror.
Interesting. So I'm going to do mine. I've got mine in date order, so
yeah,
I'm just going to vary it. Obviously, I'll say when we're doing Mission Impossible, but I'm not going to talk about the film. So 1st of June, Spider-Verse, as we said earlier, reviews out there, film of the year so far. I then followed the next day with the 3-part Netflix documentary Arnold. I got to watch it early.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
It's good.
Well.
It's good.
Yeah.
And listen, the thing with Arnie, right? If you're a fan of Arnie, you might learn some new things, but you're not going to be like, oh my God, this guy was a politician. Like, it's more for people that maybe aren't familiar with him, like certain audiences and age groups are. And it is interesting. And I give it credit. I did think, why did they need it to be 3 episodes? But I actually really liked the dynamic of, we're going to do 1 episode on him growing up in bodybuilding, acting career, then politician into today, which I think was the best way to actually approach the documentary. I've not watched his Netflix series Fubar. Now, I know Netflix is very good at making up stats, but Fubar is genuinely top of the TV streaming charts in America. That's through the actual data-driven ones that can do so. Obviously, they can only ever get the American crowds, not the worldwide. And it's been renewed for season 2, so I want to watch that at some point, but I'm not in a rush to do it. Rewatched Spider-Verse on Sunday the 4th. I then got home after having a great time watching Spider-Verse, watched Mission Impossible 3. Then, obviously, I watched Arnold. I was on a bit of an Arnie hype train. I went and watched Kindergarten Cop for the first time in probably.
You've never seen it?
Well, no. I saw it as a kid, so it felt like I was watching it for the first time, but I had already seen it. So it's weird. It's not a new watch, but it felt like a new watch. Obviously, still love it. Like again, when you watch Arnie films as a kid, you don't really know what it means, but you enjoy it. You enjoy this massive guy. But I'd never seen it again since. I don't know why. So I liked that. I then watched Conan the Barbarian, one I hadn't seen. Didn't like it at all. I know it's one of his. It's his breakthrough film after Pumping Iron. I don't know. Maybe I had more hype in my head that this is the one that got him through, but I didn't enjoy it as much. I know it's a massive film at the time, so maybe it's me. I know that Jason Momoa was in a terrible remake, wasn't he? About 10 years ago. Then on Thursday the 8th, I watched Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Now there is a very short review. I was pretty scathing, and I think I'm still in that vibe. I didn't like it, and I don't have any issue with Anthony Ramos, any of the cast. I cannot comprehend almost 3-4 weeks later that there's a Transformers film set in the 90s, but it's choosing to be set in the 90s for no reason. They clearly wanted to put some hip hop music in the film. There was no tangible meaning for them having a 90s set era. Technology. I understand Bumblebee being in there. I think was it the 70s or 80s?
Yeah,
worked for Bumblebee. The era was appropriate. The story, the concept, the designs, but nothing about this reached the 90s. Pete Davidson popping up in another film this year. He is absolutely on fire for cameos in A-list films. He did a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy. He did a cameo in Fast 10. He did a cameo in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. He'll probably pop up somewhere else. But I didn't like it, and it's a shit. And I know a lot of people that really like that film, so maybe it's me. I didn't like the design of the Transformers. It doesn't look like G1. Is that what it was called? The original ones? And at the same time,
I've never followed Transformers ever.
You know, like what the cartoon looked like?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like that, but it doesn't look like the Michael Bay ones, which look pretty fucking incredible still. Almost 20 years later now. It's a weird middle ground. And I just don't get it. Just make them like the cartoon. Or make it like how they've already done it for the last few films. But anyway, I struggled with the film. It's done okay at the box office. And then so that was the 8th. Following day, Friday the 9th. I thought, you know what? I'm so on the down low about the Transformers, so I'm going to go and watch a classic. So I revisited Bayhem himself, and I watched the first Transformers film, and I absolutely love it still. All these years later, very fond memories watching it when I was younger. The PlayStation game, growing up with that trilogy, it was really nice just to go back and watch it, and it did it did make me think again. Why does a film from 2007 look better than the one from 2023? I mean, we spoke about Flash, and Indiana Jones has had a lot of people criticizing its VFX because it doesn't look like a $300 million film, which I agree. But at least the VFX are like watchable. And the problem is this horrible new trend where the blockbuster films are getting longer, the budgets are getting bigger, but you're not seeing that budget on screen anymore. I mean, I'm not going to just hype up Oppenheimer for the sake of it, right? That's $100 million film. You know that's going to look better than 99.9% of blockbusters. And it's not just the obviousness of, Christopher Nolan's directing it. Why are people coming on board? I mean, I know it's the studio's fault. I know there's reshoots. I know there's VFX issues where, they change their mind left, right, and center about what to do.
Well, Christ,
it just staggers me.
Flash was 200 million. And that is wasted.
Exactly.
They wasted every single dollar on that film.
And they didn't want to... The talk of if they replace Ezra Miller, they would need to CGI another character in. I understand it on West Side Story for Spielberg, right? When they wrapped filming and they couldn't recast the leads. But I understand that you can't, in a musical at least, you can't CGI an actor. It's not Kevin Spacey. You can't just have someone sat in the corner of a room for all their scenes. You can't do it in a musical because of the movement, everything. You'd have to reshoot the whole film, which I understand why they didn't do that. But for Flash, they got CGI renders 24/7 on loop. They could have done something if they really, really wanted to. They just didn't want to. They wanted the film out. They want to take the hit, and they want to reboot DC and move on. But sorry, that's just the Transformers. Because going from a later Transformer film, and I'm not excusing the other ones. The first one, many will say, is still the best Transformers film. For me, it's 1 and 3. Country Mile, the best 2. There's in the best 2, 1 and 3. So I didn't rewatch the others. I really wanted to rewatch 3, but I just didn't really have time because the next day I had Ghost Protocol. Then sort of didn't watch as many Tom Cruise films this month. I went for Tropic Thunder. I think the last time we did a stream, I was like, I'm going to order Tropic Thunder tonight. I did.
You did. Yeah.
Still one of the greatest satires ever made. It ages. It gets better with age. Every year, when you go back and look at Tropic Thunder, you look at Robert Downey Jr. and you think at the time I believe the 3 actors he's parodying is Daniel Day-Lewis, Russell Crowe, and Colin Farrell. And he was meant to have an Irish accent, but it's because he was better at doing an Australian accent because Natural Born Killers, which is an amazing film for people who haven't seen it. Now we're in this insane age of method acting, where I'm not going to comment on legal cases, but if anyone's seen some stuff this week, Jonathan Majors is now using method acting as an excuse for being violent on the set of one of his films that hasn't come out yet. You got Jared Leto, who demanded to be taken to the toilet in a wheelchair to disrupt filming for method acting. Again, Tropic Thunder, it ages like wine. The industry gets worse, and that film looks better. Still amazing. A couple of days off, watch Rogue Nation, obviously. Then Friday the 16th of June. Was it 16th? Yeah, it was. I was like, okay, we're a month out from a big director who's returning to the fold. So I'm going to try and watch a couple of Nolan films. I've only done one so far, but I watched Dunkirk, 1 hour 40 minutes, still one of the best films I've ever seen.
I think that was on TV the other day as well.
Wouldn't surprise me. I think BBC play it quite a lot. Again, it's 1 hour 40 runtime. It's great. It's historical. I can see why that sits on regional TV a lot. Still, I would say his best directed film in terms of direction and quality and the film itself. Biggest robbery in Oscar history. I won't let that go. Still insane. And the amazing thing, so I've got all the Nolans on 4K that are out on 4K. A lot of these newer films did Dolby Atmos, so if you know like the 3D sound, a lot of them when they get like redone for 4K, they'll do a new sound thing. The Nolan films stay in 5:1, like he won't let them like do stuff like Dolby Atmos, and I just love it. I mean, it still sounded amazing with my speakers, but I just love the fact that of anything you think they'd be doing that for, it would have been Dunkirk, and certainly Tenet doesn't have Dolby Atmos, and Dolby Atmos was a thing when Tenet was being made anyway. That could have naturally been on there, but so obviously love Dunkirk. I'm getting myself in for. Again, really busy. Life was very busy in June. So didn't watch anything till the 21st from the 16th. Mission Impossible Fallout, review tomorrow at 8 p.m. BST. Then on the 23rd, oh God, that's last week before.
Last week.
That was a Friday. I watched Asteroid City on release. Once I'm lucky, I've got 3 Cineworlds in the space of a 30-minute. Well, I've got one that's a 30-minute drive, the other a sort of 25-minute drive, no traffic, and I go to either. I prefer one of them as the IMAX. The Solihull one was showing it, which is a 25-minute drive, so I went there. It was really busy. It was very busy, the screening. I was surprised because I've seen, not to criticize Wes Anderson, obviously modern TikTok culture. There's a big. I was going to say,
is that why? Is that genuinely why?
There was a lot of younger people. I thought, okay, it'll be odd. Like when I watched
it, hasn't he? He's gone.
He's basically said, "Don't ever show me a TikTok or an AI."
He's like, I can't believe this is what people think my career is.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. Because I think, not that he's got it wrong, but it'd be like if someone shows Christopher Nolan the Warner Brothers fire from last week at the Oppenheimer junket and was like, "Was this your marketing strategy?" Like he'll be like, "Why the fuck are you talking to me about a bomb?" Well, it wasn't a bomb; it was a transformer fire. But Asteroid City, the more I look back, because I was very mixed on the review. I just didn't really know what to think because it was just very weird. For Wes Anderson, it was weird, and that's what I'm saying there. And I've seen 7 of his films now, so I'm getting there. And
when's the retrospective? I'm down for it. I love Wes Anderson.
It wouldn't be nice to have a black background, would it? It'd have to be pink. But I really liked it, and the reason I wanted to watch on release was because I was going to the exhibition the day after, which I'll talk about. I'm going to talk about a few film things that I did this month anyway. But so that was Friday 23rd, Saturday 24th, Dial of Destiny. Again, I said it on the video yesterday. Very lucky. I've got a friend that works at ILM. And I was very, very grateful to be offered a +1, which saved me the hassle of, again, talking and dealing with PRs. It being a Saturday lunchtime screening meant to have to take time off work. And it was at the BFI IMAX, which is always a victory. So really enjoyed that. I've not been able to see it again since. Again, kind of what I said earlier, so many of these films are like 2.5 hours. If you're going to the cinema now, you have to like basically give yourself the night to do it. And And then again, didn't watch anything till early this week, but that's only Monday, isn't it? I watched Edge of Tomorrow on Thursday, unintentionally. I finished my Mission Impossible retrospective. I was trying to think of a good film to watch, and it was just sat there on the shelf sticking out. I was like, you know what? I've not watched much Tom Cruise films this month. Emily Blunt's in Oppenheimer. I love this film still. It's still one of the best sci-fi films. I keep thinking Bill Paxton because obviously there's been a lot of Titanic videos going around in the last few weeks. The James Cameron 9/11 thing with Bill Paxton telling him what happened. I was like, yeah, it's sort of pointing towards me to say, go watch Edge of Tomorrow. That was my Thursday night film. Loved it still. As I said, amazing sci-fi film. Then on Friday, I watched Isle of Dogs for the first time. And I really liked Isle of Dogs. Obviously, I'm a dog person.
Isle of Dogs?
Oh, I liked Fantastic Mr. Fox. So the analogy I'm talking with people about is maybe I like the stop motion animation stuff more than his live action stuff.
See, it's weird because I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think it's one of his best films. I didn't like Isle of Dogs.
Do you like dogs?
No.
That's probably why. That's literally like why. So that's all the stuff I watched. I mentioned a gap. So June I had like not 3 months worth of trips, but I have had a very quiet year so far of going out and doing stuff. And then everything just started happening in June. So I'm trying to think. In the space of literally 2 weeks, I think I was in London for 9 days. Not like 9 days in a row, like just in and out, in and out, in and out. I saw Elton John. That was at Birmingham. Tickets from 4 years ago. If you want to talk about how late tours have been, people at home, the ramifications of COVID. I was working on Rocket Man when I bought my ticket for his show in Birmingham, which was meant to be in 2020. Then it was moved to, I think, like late 21 or early 22. Then he had an injury/surgery, and it was moved to 2023. And it turned out to be his final show in the UK, he said, except upcoming Glastonbury, which has obviously been and gone. So I didn't realise that, which was nice. But that was, obviously, again, I'd worked on the film. I've got attachments to it. I love that, like, I'd say it was basically the exact same set as Glastonbury. They just swapped 2 songs around. So I had that. Then 3 days later, I had a Hans Zimmer. Always, whenever he's on tour, we always go. It's a given. Still incredible if anyone ever gets the chance. They've hinted that there's he did a concert. So Hans Zimmer's had 2 live albums. For anyone curious about soundtracks and my obsession with stuff like this, the first one's called Live in Prague from 2017, I think. Now he did the same. He did a European tour in 2016, a world tour in 2017. Same set list, everything, same vibes. The first tour show he ever did, we were at. That was like a test. If that worked, he'd then do a tour, which is what he did. That was the music by the book, in the logic of exactly how it sounds in the films, the suites. That's how it was. And then he'd had another tour made for 2020, obviously delayed of COVID. And this tour's like not like a reboot, but this tour's completely different. The new logos, new everything, but the music, it's more of like a rock show. Like, it doesn't sound... Obviously, some songs are going to sound exactly like they do in the film, right? Yeah. But for example, Dune. How the hell do you do Dune live? Obviously, he's got them all on electric guitars rather than the bagpipes for the House of Atreides stuff. So the show itself is just one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. He did it last year. He's done the same show this year. He added in Top Gun, because obviously that's the only squeeze done last year. That's not Dune Part 2. But just as a show, he is... Of all the film stuff I've seen live, I've not seen John Williams, which is still the goal for life, seen properly in concert. But I've seen like Michael Giacchino, I've seen David Arnold. I've been very lucky with the score stuff I've seen. But nothing compares to these Hans Zimmer ones. And like Interstellar, he had I forgot what his people are called. They go up like a curtain, you know, when they do the spinning stuff.
Oh, that's
it's like you see it at the circus.
Yeah.
That's like really degrading to someone's career. That's happening whilst Interstellar's on. But then there's an incredible violinist called Molly Rogers who's been on all of his tours, and she can do vocals as well. She does the Interstellar theme through this like terrifying but beautiful sound. And again, the people he's worked with for years on tour, he's like giving them their own like moments to shine, and it's really cool. So there is going to be a Blu-ray out later this year, but the new album is out. It's literally just called Hans Zimmer Live. It's incredible, very, very different. And like the main thing that happened this year has never happened in the other tours is Lisa Gerrard performed Gladiator. She's not been in the UK since I've done it, which was amazing to hear her do that. Obviously, the vocalist from Dune was there, but the church organ player from Interstellar came out, and they let him do the solo for No Time to Caution. So that was a really cool thing. Again, I'll always recommend it. You can still watch live in Prague; it's still amazing. But I love the fact he's had different tours, and it's different. It's not the same tour on loop. It is very different. And then I went to the Mission Impossible red carpet, which we'll probably talk about Dead Reckoning. Obviously, very politely displaying the signed Tom Cruise stuff now. So I didn't do Indiana Jones red carpet. There was a plan to, and I just thought I've been in London too much. I'm drained. I'm tired. I need to go home. I would have had to have gone in the day after. So I did the Asteroid City exhibition, which is really cool. That's just been extended to the end of July. Then I was in London. It's at the Strand. It's £15. If you're in, even I'm not the biggest Besançon fan, I still always respect his process, his filmmaking. Seeing all the miniatures from the film, the costumes, the approach. It's a really cool little exhibition. You probably go in there for half hour, and they then recreated the diner from the film for you to actually eat at on the way out. Or you can queue for that to go in by itself. So I went with Charlie for that, who's obviously been on the channel. So very heavy with events, film-related stuff, and I'm very tired. I have been very tired. And now I need to get back to watching films. As I said, Mission Impossible's tomorrow. There is another red carpet. There's 2 red carpets this month. I'm probably not going to do both of them because they're not on the same day, but they're the day after each other. Obviously, it's Barbie and Oppenheimer.
This next month
very heavy. It's going to be heavy. I mean, I've not actually watched a film yet this month. I know it's only the 3rd of July. But I'm going to say I'm going to probably end up watching a lot of Nolan films because I want to, for anyone curious, Following is getting its first UK Blu-ray release this month as well, which I've got on pre-order. So I don't know what I'm going to watch this month, if I'm being completely honest, which is nice because as much as I love doing these series like Mission Impossible, it sets the tone of what I'm going to watch, and I'm going to watch films surrounding that. Obviously, for them, it's Tom Cruise, right? When we were doing Bonds, I was watching this actor's done this actor's done this, but I don't know what I'm going to watch this month, which is nice. It's a bit of peace and quiet.
I'm going to struggle to watch any film that isn't a new release next month. It's going to be, all my time's going to be dedicated to, okay, what's in the cinema right now? Because it's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. There are a few things on Netflix. There's things on streaming services as well, which I'm going to be trying to keep track of as well. But I mean, it's going to be tough. Like, I feel like there's going to be more new releases watched than anything else. I've got a few TV shows on the go. So Secret Invasion at the moment, and I'm also watching through Slow Horses, which is very good.
I've heard that's very good.
That. Gary Oldman
Silo's meant to be very good on Apple as well, which is Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah. So,
I'm going to watch Secret Invasion is 6 episodes. Am I right in thinking it's 6?
Yeah, episode 3 is out this Wednesday.
So that'll be done by the end of July. And what I'll do, like Miss Marvel, I've still not watched She-Hulk. Like Miss Marvel, when it gets to episode 5, I'll catch up because Secret Invasion is a storyline that I've always thought massively overrated in the comics. So that's going to upset some people somewhere. And I just believe Secret Invasion is not something you can ever do in live action. But it stars Ben Mendelsohn. So
I was going to say, I've been donated the Secret Invasion comic book, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, well, this was never going to be adapted unless they did it as like
comics. The whole point of comics is they always reboot. So something like Secret Invasion works in comics because then you go, oh, we need to reset the world.
But also, like for a person who doesn't read comic books regularly, this is a massive event. This is one of those kind of big, kind of multi crossovers and stuff like that. They've got like the Thunderbolts in there. They've got, like the Avengers. They've got the Dark Avengers. They've got Young Avengers. They've got Guardians. Like, it's literally every single team is involved. Like, so what I don't understand is, okay, cool that they're doing this one final series kind of as about for Nick Fury and stuff like that. But could this have been like a major event film? This could have easily been a major event film.
It could have been. And I think it's even harder to then tell people, but this character you've loved for 10 years, he's a Skrull. And this isn't like, I know the spoiler from the end of episode 1. I've seen that. Which people kicked off about. But it's like, it's a very tricky thing to put. Again, a comic audience, not slagging off comic book fans. It's a very different audience who watch these films and shows compared to the most people that read the comics. There's a reason over the years they've had to change so much every time they do something. And I think Secret Invasion is trickier. But It's got Emilia Clarke. It's got Olivia Colman. It's got a very good cast. And I think I'll tune in for episode 5. I've not watched The Idol though, which is meant to be one of the worst shows ever made. Because Sam.
Oh yeah, it's meant to be one of the worst shows ever made.
To the point they merged episode 5 and 6 together to end it a week early because it was that bad. Aside from that, let's be honest. When we do this in July, we're going to be talking Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
we're going to be talking Mission Impossible and anything else in between. But I can tell you this: I'm seeing Mission Impossible tomorrow. I've booked to see it next Monday with my dad. This time next week we'll be watching it. That's obviously release day in the UK, 10th of July. Oppenheimer, I'm booked for the 21st and the 22nd. Barbie, I'm booked for the 21st. That's new releases. That's already like 6 cinema trips. And Oppenheimer and Dead Reckoning are both long films. Dead Reckoning is 2 hours 45. Oppenheimer's 3 hours. Plus adverts. It's going to be a very interesting month, July, and I'm excited to see what other films pop up.
Yeah, it's going to be stacked. Like, I don't even know where to begin with it. There are so many things coming out, and such a range of things coming out as well. You can go from your big kind of dramas, like your Oppenheimers, and then you could have your action films like Mission Impossible.
Elemental, forgot about that.
Elemental's coming out as well.
That's been the vibe for that film, isn't it? Everyone's forgot about that.
Barbie's advertising campaigns kicked into overdrive right now, so there's a lot coming out in cinemas. It's going to be a stacked schedule. If you want to, you could go and watch Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, or whatever it's called, because that's been advertised all over my Instagram feed recently for some strange reason. I wonder if no one's going to watch that film. But there's a lot of films coming out, a lot that are going under the radar, a lot that, will be above radar as well. So I've done it for the first time in a few years. I've gone and bought myself a Cineworld card just to be able to watch the films or keep up with the films. If there's a time to kind of invest into cinema, it's now. Cinema is for the most part meant for the big screen, and to go and experience those films out there, I feel like everyone should go and get their tickets and support the various different films. Do what Tom Cruise is doing. Say everything's great and just go and watch everything. But this is going to be a big year for cinema. It's a big month for cinema. So next month, I feel like it's going to be a mega video to get through. Yeah. And then for the rest of the year, we can just chat the shit and bring on whichever guest we want to on this show. And, we don't have to actually talk about the films. We could talk about, anything other than the films.
No, absolutely that. And that's kind of a good way to sort of segue out of today's episode, I think, as well. Because as I said, it's going to be an interesting summer. So as always, if you're not watching it live, you're watching it later on, you can obviously comment below what you watched. And these streams, if you have questions, do ask us. Obviously, it's a bit late now, but I think at the end of July, we'll be talking Barbenheimer. I think that's one of the terms. So get involved that way. Yeah. And if you want to subscribe, we mentioned there's reviews coming. Mission Impossible Fallout tomorrow. Dead Reckoning spoiler-free Wednesday. Elemental, I'm guessing the weekend. We haven't TBC'd that sort of stuff. Barbie, Oppenheimer, you name it. It's going to be covered this month. It's a big month. And obviously, if you guys want to get involved, you can do so. And you can find us on social media. That's where we announce our videos, etc., etc. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy. Facebook, Letterboxd.com/cinema_savvy. Linked in Redbubble in the description. And I said there will be a link tree going up in the coming days that will probably just replace these tags, which is going to make it a lot easier. But just rounding this out, as we said, the Indiana Jones spoiler discussion was late last night. That was an hour and a half, a really good discussion as well. So if you are curious, do get involved with that. Because it wasn't just us talking spoilers either. We're talking everything of that film, the reception, the Rotten Tomatoes stuff, the box offices, you name it, we give it a go. We try and talk through it. So do get involved, do watch that. But aside from that, thank you all that have been watching today. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.